I need to put my tattoos away because apparently that's all I have about.
Oh, do you know what? Is the man spreading as well on the last video?
Guy in the comments, who's that guy I think he is with the neck tattoo?
Do you all care about the comments?
Not really.
Nah, I don't now. I was raging at the time, because I hadn't done anything to warrant getting abuse for a while, and I took a step back.
We were sitting in the old joint stop taking pelters.
Like this one guy was like, haha, Ty Bracey, Grealish lover boy, what a
Really?
all right, mate.
I liked it when you got upset on Twitter. Not upset, but you were like annoyed on Twitter because someone said that one of us liked the sound of their own voice too much and was speaking too much, and you thought it was you.
So I think I'm just a worrier. I think worst case scenario about everything. So I think everything's aimed at me.
I text you, saying,
and then I forget that I'm mates with you.
I text you, saying, I think they might be talking about me.
I always get that when it's like, oh, Dan thought this. Like, hang on a minute. Oh,
which one?
It's him now talking about. Him with the big nose on the end. Well, it's both
it could
of us.
It could be either of us. It could be either of us. He said.
Yeah. How are we all doing? Everyone all right?
Yeah.
Smashing.
Good.
I've got another little illness.
Have you? 2 weeks I've been back.
Always ill.
I've got a cold.
Always.
Like, mate, we get kids. It changes, doesn't it?
Sick
Just
note.
ill all the time.
Surprised you don't pick up more bugs from your subscribers.
Brilliant. That's not true, man.
Took him 8 seconds for a dig.
No, what is it? Is it half term? Is it half term soon? So
He's coming up. He's in a couple of weeks.
There you go.
I don't think Max is going to tolerate your nonsense today.
He does.
I just know it's not
He
true.
does
Got a look on
He
his
does
face
seem in a
of
bad
where
mood.
he's-
He was late, and he does seem in a bad mood, man.
I'm not in a bad mood, man. I'm just warming up.
We were waiting for the YouTube superstar today.
At least I'm prepared with notes and stuff, so I'm ready
I
to go.
thought we have to do our homework. Actually, the point we have to do
And
homework
group
is
chat's
like
been a little bit quiet, hasn't it? It was crazy for a few weeks, and then it kind of died down in international break.
Busy, man.
We are busy, man.
I mean, to call it homework, James, is a little bit of a...
no, it's homework.
overstatement.
Like we shouldn't be doing anything extra than turning up.
It took me like 10 minutes.
It took me 2 minutes. I sent it back to you straight away.
Yeah, but you're getting paid for it, weren't you?
So we're here today to talk about the 2-year anniversary of Unai Emery joining the club.
Where's the cake?
It is 2 years today, when this podcast comes out, that Emery announced his contract with us or whatever. And we're going to go through different categories of like the best goal that we've scored in the Emery era and all these different things. And I sent these categories into our group chat on Monday. Ty and James haven't even, not only did they not send me a reply, they've not even answered the questions, which is fine because I expect you to be able to answer these on the fly anyway. But for a podcast, a bit of prep, is pretty useful.
I'm sorry.
Dan sent me his. I mean, I've got to find it 'cause it was so quick. So I sent them 28 minutes past 8 on Monday evening. Dan replied at 31 minutes.
That's quick. To be fair, though, if I don't do something straight away, I probably forget about it and don't do it, so I'm better to do something straight away.
I'll be honest, I looked at a list, I was like, I mean, I ain't reading all that, but I'm sorry it happened.
All happy for you.
All happy for you.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't leave it as a voice note, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Yeah, it's been a
3-minute voice.
To be fair, that is a common trend in our
1.5
group
speed.
chat. You'll see Rollo and it like 3 minutes 12 and it's like roll on deaf, here we go.
I put it on the speaker at home, I do. I love your voice bounce around the
Don't you put
flat.
him on
Yeah.
2x?
Yeah, it's
I've got
weird hearing you
1.5.
know.
It's
Like
not
Eminem on
I
rap
do
God.
1.5.
It's weird not hearing you in
1.5
2x now. Like, it's like, well, you should be faster.
I'd have to like do this part of the podcast, speed it up in times 2, so you can experience what it's like afterwards. Before we get into the homework that I set you all and the different categories, which will just, they're there to spark talking points, Unai Emery's pretty bloody good, isn't he?
Best thing that's ever happened to Villa, and like you knew it from the moment it was announced.
Did you?
Yeah, like you knew it was going to be better. It couldn't not be better. Like you just knew.
Just better than Gerrard.
Yeah,
isn't it?
because you didn't. When it happened, I remember like there's 3 people for the job that could do it well, and Postecoglou, 2 others, and then Emery's not even in the market, is it?
Postecoglou was? I don't remember.
Pochettino was in there as well.
Tuchel and Poch
PO,
were the 3
yeah.
that we spoke about on the podcast we did.
Yeah, but you thought he's not in the running because he turned down Newcastle, and that's a good project. And then came to Villa, and it's wow.
It's mad, isn't it, really? Because when you said then you knew it was going to be better, I was thinking, well, yeah, but we didn't know it was going to be like this, I suppose, back then. But meaning better than Gerrard, to go from what we had tied to Emery, whoever it was, almost would have been a massive upgrade on what we had.
Yeah, I mean, I said recently, something for me was I've now stopped. When you see the starting 11 released online, and sometimes you'd be like, oh, really?
I haven't looked at that in years.
Yeah,
man.
I don't care about that anymore.
What do you mean? You don't look at the team sheet before?
No, I can't look at it, but I don't think like, oh, he's playing well.
No, yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah.
I don't do that anymore. Now I'm at a point where I'm like, do you know what? I trust him. Trust Emery.
Not everyone else is in goal.
Eh?
Not even when Olsen's in goal.
I'd feel a little bit more apprehensive then, but I wouldn't be like, oh, we're going to lose because he's in goal. 'Cause
Yeah.
You just never know, do you?
One of the only things that ever come up about the team sheets was why has he got 2 goalkeepers all the time?
That's one of his favourite things. You know, Football Manager, when they have like manager traits of what they like doing, like playing the youngsters in the cup, Emery's a bit 2 goalkeepers on the bench.
One of them was his son at Palace away last game of the season. I mean, he just
Great
didn't
that.
care. Did he put his family on the
nepotism,
bench?
isn't it? Pure
But,
nepotism.
but if that was anyone else, if Gerrard's son was on the bench, you'd be like, what?
You only have to look at, you know, the owner's investments, you know, outside of contracts, you know, into Rail Union and whatnot, and to see that this is definitely a long-term thing, bigger than just Unai Emery managing Villa. Like, I think everything goes around him. Like, he is the spine of everything that we are now. And if I'm honest, I'm scared for the day where there isn't an Unai.
But it's ages away.
No, I know.
It's not going to be.
You'll be like fully grey by then as well, which
I'm
will
not
be
far
even
off
more
now, yeah.
But it's like, that's one day that I do worry about, and the only reason I do worry about it is when you look at clubs like the Alex Ferguson era of Man U and the Wenger version, the Wenger time with Arsenal. It's like,
What about the Klopp time at Liverpool?
yeah, you see, that one is separate, obviously, but you know, I just always associate with them and then do get a little bit scared. But I am just naturally a worrier. I can be really happy about something, and then a worry will come into my mind. That's just the worrier that I am. There's always something that crops into my mind that can be a bit, you know, to find a negative. I
think the difference there would be that the end of the Ferguson era was probably slightly different, but the Wenger one is that Arsenal were on a decline anyway.
Yeah.
With Klopp and Liverpool, they were already a good side, and Slot so far has started well with a good side.
Thank you for the therapy session, brother. I needed
I
it.
would like to think that when Emery does leave, whether that's because he's had a step up to Real Madrid or whatever, or he retires in 15 years, however it plays out, he will have got us to that we're a good side anyway. So whoever comes in after him can just kind of continue
He's laid
his
the
work.
bricks.
Yeah. Can you think of any? Like, I think Man U were. Like, Ferguson got out at the right time, didn't he? I think
They
he
won the
could
league
could
that
force
year,
it.
though, didn't they?
I know, but I think he realised that he had a lot of players in the 30s that hadn't really got youngsters coming through. I think he got out at the right time. Ferguson probably wasn't like as manipulative as that, but I think he was kind of knew that it was going to be tough, and he got out at the right time. I'm trying to think of an example where someone's like rebuilt the football club, and then like from there someone can take it on because the club's in such a good place. I'm trying to think of an example of a team that's
Maybe like when Howe leaves Newcastle.
yeah,
Like
I
he's
was
made
going
them
to say,
better.
obviously, Tottenham, when Pochettino left, Tottenham were in a really good place with what they'd done, like new training ground, new ground, like they'd been playing Champions League loads, and then they obviously thought Mourinho was going to come in and like take it to the next level, and that obviously didn't happen, and they've not been that good again since. But obviously, look, none of us ever want Emery to leave, but I do think when he does leave, this will be a Villa team. Yeah, we've been in the Champions League a few times. We've won something. We've maybe challenged for the title, or maybe even won a title. I genuinely think Emery's that good that if he's here long enough, all those things could have happened. And you may as well start looking at building the statue now. You may as well look at like how that's going to go about and spend some time on it
for the 2 years.
Yeah, it's like,
Has anybody in football done what they've done in 2 years of what he has?
I don't think so. I still don't think he gets the credit like nationally that he deserves
Sure.
for what he's done. The way people still talk about Villa now, like, oh, they're going to fall off. This is going to happen. Oh, Champions League at the same time as trying to finish in the top 4. Well,
But where would we have finished in the first season if Gerrard hadn't left us in the pits? If things were a little bit better.
Oh, we would have finished 4th, wouldn't we? If the season started when Emery came in, that would have been 4th, wouldn't it? So I don't think there's anything to worry about. As long as this man is here at the football club, we're going to be right up there.
Yeah, I went back and did a bit of research for how we assessed Emery joining the club 2 years ago, only as far as our podcast and Dan's. So you go scot-free for this little bit. But we were all obviously pretty positive. The conversation that me and John had the day that he was appointed was like, what could we do that season? And we said like, oh, maybe top half.
Yeah.
Nobody was kind of talking about Europe. I think we kind of mentioned it in passing of like, well, maybe like 7th wouldn't be a million miles away if you did get to 10th. On your one, Dan, a couple of things to pull you up on.
You've already told me that.
First of all,
Oh, is this the thing?
It's bad. Yeah.
one of them's bad, I think. First of all, you were talking about the 3 candidates that we've spoken about. It was Tuchel, funny now he's at England, Emery and Pochettino, and you said that Emery wasn't your first choice.
No, when Gerrard went, because Pochettino was available, and he'd obviously built Spurs up, and Spurs probably never been as good since as when Pochettino was there. I felt like he could perhaps do the same thing at Villa, and the fact he was available, and I knew they'd probably spoke to him as well. He was my first choice, and when I heard about Emery, I wasn't underwhelmed, but I think the Arsenal thing played on my mind a little bit, in that he'd done well in Spain. He'd won stuff in Spain with like clubs that are probably maybe a similar size to Villa or even lesser than Villa. But I was probably a bit scarred by that Arsenal thing and how he was when he was at Arsenal, and that worried me a little bit. As soon as we hired him and actually looked at everything and read stuff, watched videos, you quickly realise, why did I want Pochettino ahead of him?
I was in the same boat, I
Trophies.
think, in terms of Pochettino, and I think because he'd done it in England as well, we sort of felt a little bit closer to it, and we'd seen it more, unless you're a European football expert and you openly watch Villarreal or Sevilla more than you'd watch Tottenham in the Premier League. I don't know, and I think that's when Pochettino's stock was probably at its highest as well.
He'd done another job. He'd done PSG, hadn't he? But I don't think he'd done anything else.
No, I don't think so. And like you said, he was available, which was the main thing.
He got a bit of slack at PSG as well, and he's their highest points per game manager.
Emery.
Yeah, massive. But I don't. No matter what we've said in bad takes, or
I don't think anyone had a bad take. I just think it was like
even
worried about the Arsenal thing.
Nobody, and absolutely nobody. And I'd say we're probably 5 of the most positive. We'll always try and find a positive out of any negative situation. That's probably why we get on so well as mates outside of social media and football. But I don't think anybody could have envisioned what would have happened in these 2 years. Absolutely nobody.
So quick.
Yeah.
So quick.
I thought we could do it, but not in this time.
No.
I actually said in ours about like this isn't. It's not about like let him work a little bit. It's not about judging him. I actually said in 2 or 3 years, like give him that time to just see what can happen. Because I never thought we'd get into Europe that first season. I thought if we finished around mid-table, I think the summer after that I would have expected us to aim for the Europa League last year. I think that would have been reasonable.
Do you think we're a year ahead?
I'd thought,
waited
yeah,
on the
I
rest.
think so, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I thought Champions League might come maybe next season.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we'd be in the Europa League this year. We'd try and juggle that as best we can and either win it and get to the Champions League, or we'd actually finish 4th. But I never thought it would actually happen.
In that first season as well, it's not like he brought in 10 of his own players immediately and he knew them all. Obviously now it's a bit different because he has got a few more of his own players, like Pau Torres. No, not loads, but especially in that first season though, to take us where we were when Gerrard got sacked away at Fulham and we were on the verge of being in that relegation zone, and then taking us to 7th. That's mental. Like the way you just look at individual players, like what he did with Ollie Watkins in that first season and what he's gone on to do, and even players like Luca Dean who don't get talked about a lot, who every transfer window it seemed like they'll be off, and then he just like resurrects them, and it's just incredible, and how he improves each individual player. It's just mad, and I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I've just been having a look at what I thought at the time.
I wonder what you were doing.
Yeah.
Focus, James.
I said there's 3 people that are realistic. And Pochettino had been ruled out at the time, so he wasn't even in.
I know what I reckon one of yours is Sean Dyche.
Was
he available?
Yeah.
He was spoken about a bit. He was in the running, I think, in the odds.
He was heavily in the running. It was Ruben Amorim and Postecoglou. And
Postecoglou, was he at Celtic at the time?
Yeah, he was at Celtic at the time. Then there was Thomas Frank was another one. And then there was the other ones in the list, so Sean Dyche.
He was definitely in the odds, I remember that.
Benitez, Brendan Rodgers. And then I said about Unai Emery, could be a legendary European gaffer, but was unfairly humiliated at Arsenal.
I think he was bullied at Arsenal.
Yeah,
I mean,
look
look
back,
at the
he was
team
a
he had at
bully.
Arsenal
And
for a start. Mustafi.
It's all Max, it's all good to say like when the announcement was made, but before the announcement was made, his stock was very low in England. Like,
in England,
if we at the time, it looked stupid. But if we were talking about people like Dyche and Thomas Frank, as good as he's done at Brentford, being higher than Emery, we don't know what we're talking about.
It's laughable now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
As a whole, as a universe.
Yeah, I think away from like media and stuff and just fans, I think people in football, whatever that means, would have looked at what Villa did, getting Emery in and gone, that's smart, or that's clever, like this should work.
Might even be the only reason he didn't take the Newcastle job was because Villarreal were going so well in the Champions League at the time. I think they were just about to qualify for the knockouts. The reason he didn't leave was because they were operating in the Champions League and they got to the semis, didn't they? It's only like they were going into the second leg, I think, in the semi-final against Liverpool. They were in the tie. I think they might have got heavily beaten in the end, but they got to the semi-finals. But you look at that bunch of players that he was managing. Like, it just shows he gets the maximum amount of players that are at his disposal. And straight away at Villa, he came in. John McGinn was on the floor when he came in. Now look at him. Like, look at the change in his not mentality, the change in the way he leads as a captain. That's all come from Unai Emery. Just what a man manager and what a coach. And that first game against Manchester United, they'd have 2 days training, and they just looked a completely different team immediately. And did, I tried to, because I'd made a bad take, I tried to look through your video of your vlog against Manchester United in the first game to see if you'd said anything, and you hadn't. And so you were saying, like, 27 years we haven't beaten these guys at home for. Like, I do think it can beat. I think you predicted 2-1, and you said Ramsey would score, and he did.
There you go.
Could he be today? Like, our records abhorrent. Like, straight away, and as he continued to do this, he banished a ghost that had been at the club for so long, and you could identify a playing style immediately. Like, as much as I loved Dean Smith, I wasn't really. Our playing style was give the ball to Grealish when we were at our best. Yeah. After that, we struggled a bit, went to 3 at the back for a bit, and it didn't really work, and then he ended up losing the job. Gerrard, there was probably a playing style for the first few games in the central midfielders covering off the fullbacks, but then it quickly became muddled and messed, and we didn't have one. Emery straight away had a playing style, and we've had one throughout.
Great little conversation there. We have skated over the second bad take that I referenced from Dan. I feel like he's trying to get us away from it.
No, I accept it.
Max, can you just say Unai Emery for me?
Oh, okay.
In the way that you would.
Unai Emery.
James?
Unai Emery.
Unai Emery.
Dan Bardell on his first podcast that announced Unai Emery as Aston Villa manager.
Hang on, before you say how he pronounced it, can we all guess how?
Yeah,
I think
go on.
that's a great show.
Good idea.
And this wasn't, because I listened through some of it, and it wasn't the first mention. It was just, I'm live, I made a mistake. Every time he said his name was wrong.
Unai Emery.
Not bad.
I've genuinely never heard it.
How else can you pronounce
I think you've got Unai right, but it might be like Emery.
I got Unai wrong. There could have been some problem.
Emery, maybe.
How'd you get that wrong, Dan?
That's
what's
pretty close.
Yeah.
For those
Come on,
that
Max, do that again.
Emery or something like
For
that.
those that are listening, I'll put this in here, the actual audio, but Dan called him Unai Emery.
Aston Villa have tonight announced now that Unai Emery is the next manager of Aston Villa Football Club. With what Emery's achieved in the game, as well, I think Emery, he likes a 4-2-3-1. Emery would have started that season, but Emery was the first name that actually came up. So we all just want to be successful, and hopefully Unai Emery. Inexcusable. I don't have an excuse for that.
For someone who knows every shirt number of every Villa
really
player,
weird. It's really weird that I would do that.
years of football, you can't pronounce it.
I wonder how long I did it for.
Where you got the A from?
I don't know.
You do it with Nedeljkovic though, it annoys me.
What do I do in Nedeljkovic?
I feel like you need to...
Well, there you go, but like...
Dan, I feel like you need to do a parody of Amy Winehouse, Valerie, but Emery.
But when we sing that song, to be fair, no, we all sing it wrong, don't we?
Which one?
Here's to you, Unai Emery.
Yeah, that's
What's
just
wrong
for
with that?
syllables.
Yeah,
isn't
everyone
it?
sings he's 5'7", he's football heaven, he's 5'8".
Is it?
Yes, he's not 5'7".
I'm not singing that song anymore.
Mind blown. No, but I
Don't
used
blow
to
it.
sing it for that alone, because 1 inch is everything in a man. I am 6 foot, so I don't have that problem. 1 inch is a lot for a man who's
6 foot? Are you 6
5'8".
foot?
Yeah, but you're like 6. You pair of Zorgs.
I'm 6'1".
Zorgs.
And then you got over here. Yeah, cut that out. Sorry, James.
Okay, let's get into these categories then. I'll start with James and Ty. For no particular reason.
Easy.
What is the best goal that we've scored
John Duran.
in the Emery era? Is that what you're going
One,
with?
James.
Yeah, take your pick.
Are we doing this as a team?
Yeah.
I feel like, that mine is the same answer.
Everton.
Yeah, I think so.
I could even say Bayern Munich because that was class. That was bad news in the stands.
Do you think this is like...
I think they've misinterpreted the question.
Because it's like...
The best goal, okay. Arsenal,
No,
where every player had a touch.
Yes.
In terms of tactical build-up and the entire move, but if you were going for the finish itself, he's bang on. Sorry, back to
team goal.
Team goal against Arsenal. Every man touch a ball, just absolute liquid football. And I know that's a very cliche saying in football, but that is the epitome of Unai Emery.
Epitome.
Yeah, if that had happened in
That's the right word, isn't it? Epitome?
Epitome.
Epitome.
So we all get words wrong sometimes.
I'll tell you what, I used to think lingerie was lingerie for years until I heard someone say it, and I was like, lingerie, what's that? I was young.
I've got a friend who listened to do football, obviously. She was like, stop making him an escaped goat. Like, do you mean,
For God's sake.
I mean, a scapegoat. Like, an escaped
what are we meant to call Matty Cash now?
The scapegoat.
What's the right
Epitome?
Epitome? Is that the right way to pronounce it?
Yeah.
You better cut that out.
Nah, leave that in order.
What did you call it?
Leave that order.
Epitome. I've done that. I did
Epitome.
that.
I interpreted my own question that I set as the best goal that we scored in the Emery era as the Arsenal one, because
put
it's
some
like
context
what
in next
Emery
time.
has done before that, it's it's made that goal by the way we play. You're right, Duran's finish obviously amazing, but he could have scored that under any manager. Was my thinking. Max, anything different?
No, I put the Arsenal one. I just think it was because it was created and crafted, and it was just so Unai Emery, and every player was running onto it perfectly. Nobody broke stride, and just the finish was just perfect. And yeah, I think it's got to be that one. If you're going for a straight up goal, Duran's obviously is up there, but I just think to make it all about Unai Emery, and that sums him up.
Yeah,
I think the Duran Bayern one, because you're talking about, if you're picking it based on like Unai Emery, like we're playing in the Champions League because of him, and then we beat Bayern Munich in the first game at Villa Park in the European Cup for 40 odd years, and then John Duran scores a ridiculous goal.
Did you see? Sorry to interrupt you, Dan. Did you see the stats around the? You know how Unai has these broken record things. So it had been 41 games since Bayern Munich had lost the group game, which would have been the 42nd. Obviously, it'd been 42 years, and the last team in the group stage he'd lost to was Unai Emery's PSG.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Bonkers, that is.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. That's an interesting one, to be fair, the Bayern one for that reason. And even the goal itself, like Pau
Bit of
Torres.
recency bias, though.
Pau Torres plays the ball, he's an Emery signing. They said afterwards that they'd worked on, like, they know Neuer's going to be off his line, so to shoot quickly. So
That's
as much as it's
ridiculous.
like a mad goal in itself, like even that is worked on.
Made it look so easy.
Apparently he does
So
it in
easy.
training all the time.
He didn't even look either, did he? He just hit it. He had no idea of where Neuer might be based on like the videos that they'd watched previously. But to not look up and strike it was like perfect. Because it wasn't like a big lob, was it? It was just like an arrow.
You know what's mad as well? That picture, the picture of Neuer diving through the air, I am in that background.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm behind Neuer. Like, literally that whole thing I was scanning, I recognise that guy. Oh, I'm literally like behind Neuer's head, I think, which is crazy.
I mean, and Neuer is known for being a sweeper keeper and being very good at it, and he's absolutely been sent to the retirement
I
home
would say.
by a 20-year-old Colombian who no one heard of before this transfer, before this summer.
I picked, the game we lost 4-2 to Arsenal. I picked the Coutinho goal because it was quite similar to that.
I was thinking about that
other
one.
Arsenal goal in the game we won. But it was I think that was the game where the Holt end kind of learned that playing out from the back, actually this might work, because that was the first time I felt like we'd executed it and scored a goal off it in the Emery era, and it was a lovely finish from Coutinho as well. It was Brendia's little step over, like the cut back, I think it was from Moreno possibly. The cut back at the time, it was just a lovely goal, and we've gone on to score goals like that since. But I remember the feeling of that game at the time, thinking, this is good, like there's something here, this is going to work, there's something here that's going to work. And we lost the game. I remember doing a tweet after the game kind of saying like, we were the plucky losers today, but I'm going to remember this feeling today, because I was gutted when we lost that game. I'm going to remember this feeling today because I know at some point under the Unai Emery regime we are going to win games playing like that, and obviously that's what's
Was that the game just before we went on that massive run?
I think we might have lost the game after to
Was it
Leicester.
Leicester, Man City, Arsenal together.
But his goal is basically the cutback goal, isn't it? How many cutback goals have we scored?
Yeah.
Outrageous. Moreno, whoever it is. I know, Bailey cutting it back. And even that Arsenal one that I chose, that was a cutback goal as well. So that sums him up.
Can you guys remember what it was like when we started playing Emery ball? And what it was like around you in terms of in the stands, playing out from the back.
Nervy.
I still had somebody
There was a lot of
a
moans.
recent game moaning about it.
Yeah,
somebody
I still
who
have that, yeah.
they'd been there. I've not seen them before. Probably one of their first games, and it was like, get it forward, get it forward. It's like, still,
And it was
like
like
Sunday
that for a while,
league.
and it was nervy for a while.
It's not now though, is it? You feel so comfortable with it now, like you're not bothered.
It's BAU now.
There is one guy that does it by me, and he's got confidence bias about doing it, because every time he does it, he's like, hoof it, and every time we don't, like we will make an error and they'll score. So he thinks every time he says it, he's like got it bang on.
Yeah.
I think it's mad. Originally, yeah, absolutely. At the time, you're going to get people who think, "Oh, this is utter woke nonsense playing out from the back." etc.
We made a few mistakes with it, didn't we?
Yeah, but that's
remember that
gonna
Brighton
happen,
away
isn't it?
game?
Yeah.
I was sat by you. wasn't I?
Louise.
Brighton away, Louise. We instantly gave away a goal.
Early on as well, that was.
This second game, and people were like, "Oh bloody hell, what's going on?"
That
here?
wasn't Emery though, was it? That was individual mistakes.
Yeah.
The players had to learn it. And you
yeah.
could see every week all the players got better at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like when you can visibly see a difference on the pitch every week and see that the players are getting better, see that they're coached. It gives you something to get behind. You can almost forgive mistakes. Did Dendonka make the same kind of mistake against Stevenage and we got knocked out?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Kamara did
turn on
against
the ball.
Legia Warsaw.
People lost their mind and stuff. But overall, like, we're so good at it now. It's like second nature to the
You
players.
see teams that try and do it though. You've seen Southampton try and do it. Ipswich try to do it at Man City, and it's like, come on. Like, I kind of get it. You did it in the Championship, whatever, but you come up and for example, Ipswich away at Man City. Like, great, you go 1-0 up, but then just have a bit of nous around you. Like, just go 7 at the back if you have to. Like, it's very fancy at the moment. I'm just glad we've got a manager that, yes, it's not going to work all the time, but it will more than it won't, and it's so rewarding.
But he changes it as well, doesn't he? Like, we won't always play that way. We will probably 90% of the time, but sometimes he'll get Martinez to go a little bit more direct.
Was it the Bayern game? Martinez went long, basically all the time.
We went long.
There was a league game recently as well that we did it.
Yeah.
But I think against Man, I think it was that big win, that 1-0 against Man City. I think we went a little bit more direct that day. I might be remembering wrong, but there's definitely been games where he's decided to just change little things, and he does that every game. He'll change something little, whether it's the build up, the setup, kind of on the ball, because off the ball generally we're 4-4-2. Like, that's how we'll see him. But there's just always something changing every week. He's so clever.
Let's talk about best performance / result, however you want to interpret it. We'll go straight away. The one you've just mentioned, Man City, just unbelievable, both result and performance. Probably the best game we've played under Emery.
That's the best game I've ever seen.
Yeah. Everyone was
for Villa, or generally?
No, for Villa, because of who it was, how we played. Like, it was a 1-0 battering as well. They had one attack the whole game.
They had two shots on target,
it was
Haaland's shot that got saved, and then he headed it in after that in the same play.
That's still one attempt, isn't it?
We battered them.
I think I think I read somewhere that it was only the second time in Guardiola's career as a manager that he's conceded 20 shots
and made so few chances as well.
Didn't we have more possession as well against them? I might be remembering that wrong.
They haven't lost since as well, have they? They haven't lost since. When was that? About a year ago?
Them,
They
They're actually not lost since.
No, they haven't lost
the
since.
Champions League final.
Well, yeah, in the
They
Premier
got
League. In the Premier League, they haven't
it was
lost.
on penalties, I think, or after extra time.
Battered them, absolutely.
I think there was
battered
something
them.
that recently it was 30 unbeaten, and I tweeted it like, "Oh, I wonder who beat them last time," as like a joke, and there were people like, "Oh, it was Villa." Like,
as if you'd have any other reason for praising them.
Exactly. Yeah. Any advances on Man City?
Which order was it? Man City then Arsenal? Was it Arsenal?
Yeah.
Man City was
both
the
of them were
Wednesday.
class, because that was Man City was one thing, but Arsenal was
such a totally different.
because we were still
game as well,
unbeaten,
wasn't
weren't we, at that stage as well?
At home
wasn't
at
it?
Villa Park.
Was Arsenal, or was it the one after 15 wins in a row at Villa
it?
Park?
16 in the end, I think.
That's mental. 16 wins in a row.
I think there was a time when we were talking about the record was 13 or 14, and it was like Man City's like the 13th or 14th game, so it's probably going to come to an end.
Yeah, everyone thought it was
to
coming to an
extend
end.
it by another 2 by them, and I think we beat the game.
Sheffield
after as well.
United that we lost it, wasn't it? Sheffield United, like
Even then, though, you could still say like 17 unbeaten, and then we beat Burnley, so I think it became like 18.
made hard work.
Who
of
beat us
that.
with Spurs? Not
I
February.
can't remember without checking.
I think it might have been Spurs.
Max thinks it's
Oh no,
Sheffield.
was it Man U? Could have been Man U. To be
No, in terms of what we actually lost, not just stop the
Sheffield
winning run. We
United
actually
control,
lost.
yeah.
It could have been Man U actually.
Like that Arsenal one, you've just felt like the best team in the world. Like anyone could have turned up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just churning result after result out at home at that point.
Yeah.
Like in his first days as well. Like we keep like 7 clean sheets in a row at home or something.
No, we can't buy one.
Well, we've had a couple. We've had
Oh,
2.
we can now, we love it.
I don't count a clean sheet if it's a 0-0 draw. I feel like it's cheating.
Oh, I do. That's the only positive.
Yeah,
You count it, but you forget about it, I think.
It's much better if it's like 3-0.
You can just go, class.
Yeah, well done.
Like, brilliant.
Let's move on to our favourite moment. I think this one might
Look
be
what I said.
might be inspired by recency bias. So I'll start with James or Ty, because they've got
Is a moment like a moment?
It
or
can
is
be
it-
however you want it to be, yeah. How you felt after a specific result.
Yeah,
how you felt
recency
during a
bias
specific
kills this one
moment.
for me.
I think the
Because-
easy answer is Bayern Munich, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the qualifying for the Champions League was good. Qualifying for the Conference League was good as well. But the Champions League one was another level. But the Bayern Munich, I've never felt like that at a football match. It was. I don't think I'll ever feel like that
Was
again.
that the game, or was it like the build-up, the
Just
music?
everything. The day it had that perfect like August into winter feel of when football's real. And the night, the lights, the music, the silence from the Champions League music.
Yeah.
Dude, like, I think my dad was tearing up.
Nodder.
Big nod. Yeah.
I was going to say it.
Just
but
for
I
reference,
held it
Dan
in a
isn't calling James's dad a noddy. His name's Noddy.
I don't think his name actually is Noddy though.
It's not
It's
his
his
name.
Twitter handle, so I assume.
His name isn't actually Noddy.
No.
What a plot twist.
I said to Jed, have a guess what James's dad's called.
And what did she come out with?
I can't remember what she came out with. I was like, dad's name's Noddy. I was like, you don't see many Noddies nowadays.
There's a bloke over the road from me called Noddy.
Can you imagine him when he walks in the pub? Well, it's Noddy. How are you, Nod?
Oh, good.
For me, individual moment.
Just back to it. Yeah.
For me.
What we've done, there was a moment of silence, so I thought I'd come back to the...
Great little edit there.
You know, as Max has put us late. Sorry, Max.
Nah, it's all good.
Got half an hour, by the way.
I would agree with James. Bayern Munich, absolutely. Because for the first 20 minutes, I won't say it wasn't great, but Bayern Munich were Bayern Munich.
Zipping it, weren't they?
They were playing.
This was a level.
Yeah, like company's a product of Guardiola, and you can very much see that in how they play. And they did. After 20 minutes, we were warm, and we were like, all right, this, we're going for it now. You know, we went for it. But I think for 70 minutes we gave as good as we got. The first 20 were a bit slow. Yeah. We let them play their ball, and then we showed them our ball for the rest of the game. And then obviously the goal that it was to give us the win was outstanding, and it absolutely made my life that Harry Kane did not win a penalty as well, because that is absolutely part of his game. He knows how to win penalties.
Yeah.
For that one, I put the Duran goal against Bayern Munich, but I think an honorary mention is probably Brighton on the last game of the season, on his first season, which was like, it doesn't seem as significant now because we're in the Champions League, but at the time it was a bright sunny May afternoon, last game of the season, and it was perfect. And I remember being so emotional at the end that we qualified for Europe, because I'm part of a generation I was right at the sort of start of when we were last in Europe, but I wasn't really remembering it or anything. So to be there and think, I'm going to follow Villa in Europe now, wherever it is. I know it wasn't the Champions League, but at the time that was incredible. So definitely that Brighton game was special.
To be different from Bayern Munich, the same, I put qualifying for the Champions League at home to Liverpool, though we didn't actually qualify and we still needed the result. I had no doubts.
Courtesy of John Duran.
Exactly,
big man.
Big man
scored
popped
two.
up again.
I think he did score two.
Yeah, it was that weird knee goal, wasn't it?
Did he finish 3-3?
Yeah.
So you got this comeback, you got Duran scoring, it's the opposite of Brighton, then it's
Klopp.
the last game at home, but it's dark, we all know that Tuesday night is Man City.
They put us on the telly because it was Klopp's last away game, was it? Yeah. And then he was there at the end all angry, which was nice.
We get the lap of appreciation because it's the last home game. You go, we have qualified for the Champions League here because Man City will win tomorrow, and if they don't, well, maybe we'll go to Palace and get something. So yeah, that's like a moment of like, we've achieved what we set out to do.
Be boring, but the Man City game again, just because I genuinely think that's the best game I've ever seen Villa play. It was just the perfect game, and I think you come up against the best manager and the team that had just won the Champions League. And you've played them off the park and won the game in the midst of an incredible run at home. You've kept a clean sheet. Like, you're really going well at that point. Like, I just think it's hard to top that game for me. The Bayern game comes really, really close, but I still think the Man City game shades it, because I just remember thinking, we are the business. We are a proper team here. Just like an off the cuff, like Henry mentioned, because I've already spoke about the Man City game. There's two of the really stand out. Do you remember the game where we beat Newcastle 3-0? Like, again, I just thought, like, Newcastle had won 5 games in a row at the time and were going to qualify for the Champions League. We played them off the park. We were probably the only team that beat them well that season. They had a really good season, and I remember just again thinking, this is serious. Like, we're so good. This is the same players. He hasn't even brought anyone in really yet, except for a left back and a substitute striker. Like, we're on it, and probably the Brighton win as well. We were 6-1.
Yeah.
No one beats Brighton like that, really. We battered them.
That's true.
The next category we've got is Standout Quote. Now, if you'd have done your homework, maybe you could have found something. So we'll start. Have you got one?
Let's go with Rushton going to be this one. Do you know Boxing Day against Man United?
Yeah.
When he looked like a serial killer. He was like, I don't know the exact thing, but I know what I'm on about.
With the chin rub one?
Yeah, he's like, it's beautiful or something. And he looked like he was going to kill someone that day.
What did he say? Did he say, we're what position were we?
I think.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful.
We're still. I can't remember what he
I'm going to
said.
have to find it where you carry on chatting, because that's going to really
I've got 2 of that, whilst our one's in the archives. 2 for me. The one where Douglas Luiz has lost possession and then he's going, it's a Europa League game, I can't remember which game it was, and he's going, calm, and then he's getting more angry the more he says calm. And then he starts like doing an impression of Homer strangling Bart. Calm. And then the other one where he's doing a post-match interview and he goes, no, not negative. Positive. Just like Mr. Miyagi-esque.
I love it. Like,
just pure wisdom and zen. He's like, no, not negative, positive.
That's the whole Arsenal thing as well. Like, he's saying the same things, but they've just made it like from a cute thing, the whole good evening rubbish, from a cute thing about when he's doing good, they say all this, and now it's just like when he's doing videos getting slammed for that stuff, but he says good things, sometimes funny things after like every game.
I've got his response after Man United, the chin rub. I'll play it. I'll have to mute it for the audio.
Unai, what went wrong? We're winning 39 points. It's amazing.
Sounds like a serial killer.
Yeah,
man.
Imagine that dressing room after the game. All the
amazing.
best.
I see people use
He
that
must
video.
have a boner when he was saying that.
People
Never
use
heard.
that video out of context, so they're like, it's amazing. But he was living, like,
Yeah.
he was so mad.
Yeah.
That chin rub is...
That was a
really-
bad game. That was 2-0 up. Christ.
should never
It reminds me of Dexter Morgan to some extent. If you don't know who it is, get to know. But Dexter Morgan,
I know
a
the
serial
bloke
killer.
Is that
Talking
Dexter?
about
The
Dexter.
yeah.
Dexter. The only Dexter, expect Dexter
Apart from
Blackstock.
Dexter's Laboratory.
And
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
don't know his last name though, but
Classic. Okay, all right.
I've got one a nice quote. This
out.
wasn't the one that I sent you, but yeah, I've actually written out here. It says, "We have the challenge to bring back again our fans and our crest to the top level." I think this is all around like the Champions League, whatever. To the place Gary Shaw reached with his 1982 teammates. We are here to be like Gary, and hopefully one day our players will also be legends.
Nice.
Just like he's like a
That's
poet,
class,
isn't he? He's an
Yeah.
absolute poet. It's like
Almost
his
as good as
Instagram.
Dan's poems that he writes for his missus on Instagram. Honestly, it's
I
close.
genuinely thought I was going to get a
Are
praise from a
you-
poem
Are
walking
you
around in the
Unai's
park.
ghostwriter?
What?
Are you Unai's ghostwriter? Meaning, do you write
not.
his poems?
Unai,
Unai
he's
doesn't.
not.
Because they
Unai
are, Dan, they are
Unai
a
doesn't
bit...
Unai doesn't
Your
need
love
anything.
for your other half and Unai's love for Villa are spoken in equal amount of passion.
I do love her. I do love her. Can't lie about it.
Fair enough. Your quote is exactly along the same lines as I've got. I've got the coaches, the players, the supporters. Whilst we are trying to always respect history, we want to build a new history. And new history is to play in Europe consistently and be consistent in the Champions League.
He gets
Like,
it,
he just-
don't he?
Boom.
It's good what we've done before, but I want to do it
More.
better. I want to do more of
More.
it. Yeah.
I haven't really picked like a specific quote. I just like, because if you listen to his post-match interviews and his press conferences before the games and stuff, he says a lot of the same things every week, but it never bores me. So what I like is I feel like he always involves the supporters. Like he always
That's the first thing.
Yeah, he always makes sure he references the supporters. You very rarely hear him speak to the press, and he doesn't talk about the fans. And I think that's really, really important. And he did it from day one again. Really, like it's like we talk about how switched on he is tactically and stuff like that, and the game plans that he comes up with. But even just stuff like that, like from day one, he's actually said all the right things. And some managers speak, and there's not a lot of substance behind what they're saying. But really, everything he said as well, it's been backed up. So it's not really a specific quote. Because I'll be honest, I sometimes don't even watch or listen to his press conferences before the game, other than to find out who's fit. Because he does just say the same things, but it doesn't really bother me at all. All managers do that to an extent. They all have got their phrases that they say. But Emery's just backed up everything he's ever said.
And a lot of managers will say stuff about the fans, but you kind of just think, well, they're just saying that because it
Bruce
sounds
used to
good.
call
It's
it
a
the
tick
mad
box.
few, didn't he?
Yeah.
few.
But you
Mad
feel
few.
like if Emery's talking about the fans, it's because he gets it and he means it and he's not just saying it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Let's move on now to his
Mad
his best signing. I'll start with you, Max.
Oh Christ, give me a sec.
I'll start with you, Dan.
I just went, in the end, I've gone for, there's a few people you could have chose, obviously. I was going to put Moreno, because I do think Moreno played a massive part in us getting into the Conference League. He kind of reinvented that left-hand side, but obviously not here anymore, so I wasn't going to pick you. I've gone with Tielemans. Just because he was on it, just because he was on a free, and again, just I know he gets paid, but he was
That cost 15 million quid.
I know he did.
Still
But
a
all
bargain.
transfers
Jesus,
That's not a free transfer.
But the
then.
other transfers cost a transfer fee, and then all that stuff on top. Like, so he's still the transfer fee is a free.
All right, fair. But 15 million quid's 15
Yeah,
million
cool,
quid.
of course he is, but he's worth that.
Oh, he's
100
worth 10
times over,
times
isn't
that.
he?
Oh,
It's
gotcha.
worth 3 or 4 times that at least.
Yeah, but just the improvement in like everyone has improved. There isn't really a player that you can pick out who hasn't improved. But look at Tielemans now and some of the things the Leicester fans were criticising him for when we signed him, and he didn't get put in straight away. Like he got off to a bit of a slow start. Some fans weren't really having him. He was coming in and playing on the left hand side, and that wasn't really working. And then we played him as a number 10, which isn't really his position. But then he started to get better. I just love that Douglas Luiz has gone. And Tielemans has picked up and does all the things that Dougie was quite good at to a really high level. But he looks lean. He's probably a stone and a half lighter than he was when he started. He gets around the pitch. He just seems like a real leader and a warrior as well. And those were all things that weren't there when we first signed him. It's just general improvement and how important I think he's been our best player this season so far, Tielemans, I would say. Played every game pretty much. I started every Premier League game, played in the Champions League, both games, scored the first Champions League goal. I think just Tielemans.
I'm going to be controversial and not choose a signing. I'm going to choose a player who I think has progressed the most under him.
Well, the next question is most
that's
improved.
Oh, pants.
That's what happens when you don't do your homework, Tom.
I'll have to agree with Dan then, unfortunately. Yeah, I didn't read the questions, mate. As you're aware, me and had a stinker.
I've got us.
Yeah, I'll echo everything Dan said there. I won't ramble on and say the same things that Dan said, but I highly agree with everything that he said.
Let's let your teammate speak for you.
Pau Torres.
Yeah.
Easy.
I've put the same. I've put Torres / Tielemans. I think those are the standout two.
Yeah, different type of centre-back, and a lot of criticism came in. Well,
Still
fair
good
analysis.
sometimes, to be honest.
Fair analysis that not necessarily the best in the air or the highest ranking player in the air. And we had Tyrone Mings. You had a good partnership there, and day one that's done in. And we're only looking at now when that might resume.
And the mad thing is, when you compare Pau and Mings, is that they probably have quite a similar profile in terms of their build, but they're two very different left centre-backs.
I think if one was right-footed, that'd be the perfect combination to play together.
Yeah. And then Conte would
I
just play
mean,
right
we
back.
need to kill the narrative that you can't have two left-footed centre-backs. It's fine to have two right-footed ones, so why can't you have two left?
Yeah, you can.
You can, but it's just different.
And have you seen Torres' Travellas? Let me tell you, you ain't got to worry about which foot he is, mate.
They were going to play Torres left back though, weren't they? That was the plan. Torres was going to play left back.
Basically
Mings
do what
centre back,
Conte did on the other side.
Yeah, and Cash was going to have the licence to bomb on a little bit more, but then obviously Mings got injured and the whole plan changed, and it ended up being like Bailey on the right that provided the width and the left back pushed higher up. But the plan was going to be, because Luca Dean, Moreno was injured, Luca Dean were quite happy for him to go, and fair play to him, he's battled and stayed and he's been brilliant. But Torres was going to play left back, so they were going to play together, and they'll play together again at some point. Like, there's so many different combinations they'll have at the back now, but Torres is obviously Torres and Tielemans are the two, but he is transformative because Mings' distribution is actually excellent, but some of Torres' passes, like the
Munich
Bayern
one?
game.
Yeah, look at the Duran goal. Yeah.
I thought Torres had scored because Duran took it that quick. It was like,
Yeah, I put Pau Torres as well, but I also honorary mention to Morgan Rogers.
Yes.
Just when he came in, he looked a bit like a fish out of water, and like I remember West Ham away when Duran started as well, but Rogers was up there and he got taken off. And I remember Arsenal away where Villa were fantastic. Zaniolo started that day. It was a bit weird, but we were really fantastic. But the way he's come on and he's come into this season, he looks so confident. The way he moves with the ball, and it'd be nice for him to get a couple more goals. But look, it's still earlier on in the season. It will come 100%. But he looks a completely different animal. And that you watch him for the under-21s. I haven't watched him personally. I haven't watched the under-21s. But I hear people say that he just looks. He shouldn't be there. Like he's another level compared to everyone he's competing with in the under-21s with England. So yeah, he's come on leaps and bounds, and he's only going to go up.
Which is exactly why I've got Morgan Rogers for most improved, and in such a short space of time as well. And we spoke to some people about Morgan Rogers for another podcast that we're doing, and they were like, he's a good championship player. He's all right.
Well, look at the reaction when he left, though.
Really look amazing. Yeah, like there's that clip, isn't there, of that fan podcast from the second tier, whatever they are, kind of signed up for 8 million, like for Villa's pants down, rising to 15 million.
Another thing as well, what we've got to take into account is how many players value in the past pre-Emery. How many players' value had increased?
Oh, very few.
Under Villa.
Yeah, very
Such
few.
a rare thing when you eliminate Grealish. So how many? And Benteke. But after Benteke, who was the next person who we sold for more than we bought?
That's a very good
I
question.
couldn't tell you.
What a question that is.
I couldn't tell you. Duran's tenfold. Rogers is tenfold. Watkins,
All of them?
at least 4 times. Watkins wouldn't leave for less than 80 mil. Do you know what I mean? And you can pull a face at that, but how much does a 30 goal contribution striker cost in the Premier League? English tax as well.
Let's move on. Most improved, anyone other than Rogers?
Can I go first on that? Means as
Go on
I've
then.
kind of skipped ahead.
Go on then.
Luca Dean for me, and it's not just his performances on the pitch. The guy come in on big wages under Gerrard, and
Big transfer fee as well, wasn't it? It's like
Yeah.
25 or something.
yeah, and he's coming on as one of, if not the top earner, and then the person who signed him's got sacked, which can go the wrong way in football. It's it probably goes wrong in more ways than it doesn't when people just don't have that right style of player. And then Unai since then has brought in another left back to challenge him, and then obviously unfortunate of injuries, didn't come back the same, whatever the reasons were that Moreno went to Forest, and then done it again with Maatsen, and he's still taking all that pressure on of having the Champions League left back of the season on his heels for that spot, And he's still just maintaining that composure and doing everything that's expected of him and getting better. And that's massive for me, to have that type of pressure of two players in separate occasions come in, pushing you for your spot, and you just keep rising to the pressure. Not an easy thing to do, man. So I'm going to have to go Luca Dean.
Yeah,
I put Luca Dean as well. Obviously, everyone will talk about Rodgers, and I think he's got a fair shout for it, but I put Luca Dean. He's just so consistent. So consistent. He's got himself back in that front squad now, which, how easy is that to do? Not very easy at all. And, you know, how old is he now? Like 32?
31, I would say.
31? I mean, to keep getting better and keep that consistency up, like you said, with someone who was in the Champions League team this season on his heels. I know he's a completely different left back, and if they were, you know, identical in terms of their styles, it might be more difficult, but you've got the option there of two brilliant left backs. And like you said before, Dan, about Villa got the best sort of striker department in the league. Talk about the left back department now. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's a good shout. The left back, two strongest left backs to choose.
I'd say so.
Robertson and Timišas are two good left backs at Liverpool, but just because
there's a bigger gap between them though in quality.
The variety of the two, like you say, like the different types of left back. What Emery's always done as well, like with you need players in the 30s in your squad. People kind of write people off when they get in your 30s, but you do need a few players like that in the
Champions
squad.
League experience as well.
Emery's always had that in his good teams. There's always been players in their 30s who he's kind
Luca
of rescued
Dean is past
and
his prime,
reinvented.
and he's playing the best football of his career.
When he first came in under Gerrard, I was like, this guy isn't better than Matt Targett, to be honest. Like he didn't put in many good performances, did he? The time Gerrard was there, but then under Emery, the fact that he's battled back so much as well from someone who's been discarded and we're prepared to let go even last summer, possibly even this summer, he's just said no.
Yeah,
I'm staying. I'll get myself in the team. That's fine.
And when I say past his prime, I don't mean as in how he's playing on the pitch. I mean in his age.
Yeah.
You know, he's at a point where you'd probably start to see a decline. But I only see him get better.
People don't talk. Sorry, James. People don't talk about Luca Dean very often, though, do they? It's often about Pau Torres is a sexy centre back, and you talk about the attackers and Tielemans, whatever. But he doesn't get a lot of plaudits at all, Luca Dean. So I'm glad he's getting a bit of airtime.
Yeah, Luca Dean's just like, it's that player, like you say, past the prime, past the peak. It's that exact mindset of, like, in Football Manager, you come into the squad, you sell him.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's not the real life. The fairy tale is so much better than, because you imagine him going for a long time as well under Emery.
I didn't pick him. I was going to, but I didn't.
Who did you pick?
McGinn.
I was going to pick McGinn
Just because he was, I said it earlier, he was absolutely on the floor when Emery came in. Gerrard had thrown him under the bus, making him captain.
Yeah.
Like he was going through a really bad patch. Giving him the captaincy just completely threw him under the bus. And obviously there was all the stuff with Mings as well. Like that time was crap, and he was struggling. He was getting abused. People said he shouldn't be in the team. And to come back in the way he has, and he is our leader now when he plays everywhere as well. Wherever he plays, he puts in a solid performance. I remember, I think I did the big sleep out at Villa Park, and McGinn and Josh Feeney turned up to like say hello to everyone that was doing it. And I remember, like, I'd met him doing something for Luke before in the Championship, and he was like the funniest guy in the world, like so funny, like chat to everyone, making everyone laugh, just seemed really buoyant. Like he came to this sleep out and he just wasn't the same. Like, I'm not a body language expert or anything, but he seemed down, seemed on the floor, would have known he was getting stick from the fans, probably felt a bit awkward seeing the fans at that event. To see where he is now, and you'll still get criticism. Some people say he shouldn't be in the team, but however far Villa progress, you need players like that at the club. You can play anywhere. Liverpool progressed immeasurably under Jurgen Klopp, but they still had Henderson and Milner. Like, and the big games came around, and those players would play. Every big game, like McGinn had been fit for Bayern, he's playing somewhere in that team, and I think Emery just loves him, and everything he's done since Unai Emery has come into the club to turn it around the way he has, and to score some of the goals he scored, put in some of the performances he has, led just by example.
He's followed the level that Villa has, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's took himself up to that level.
In that rise, it's gone as one.
He's vocal as well, though, isn't he now? Like, he is the leader. When he had the armband on under Gerrard, he wasn't that leader. He almost looked embarrassed to have it. Now he's owned it. That armband is his, and he'll be at Villa all the way through this journey. At some point, you know, it will come a time where he isn't the first name on the team sheet, and he maybe does make impact games from the bench or to see games out. I'm talking years away here. But John McGinn is part of the fabric at Villa, and he's grown with the club, and he deserves all the success. I was gutted when he couldn't play in that Bayern Munich game, because the two that really deserved to play in that game were McGinn and Mings. and neither of them could play because they've been on this journey for 5-6 years. But he will get to play in the Champions League, and and Mings will as well, and they really deserve that.
The simple category here is what the future looks like, what the future holds. I know no one's got a crystal ball. This could all blow up in our faces very quickly, but let's hope it doesn't. I've said before on a previous podcast, like, it wouldn't surprise me to see, like, when you have Ferguson 26 years or whatever, Wenger however many, Klopp, Guardiola, Emery, Villa 10 years, 12 years, whatever. That wouldn't surprise me at all. How do you just see this little perfect marriage existing, Ty?
Because it's not going to be possible for us to replicate Champions League football every year, and I think we must be very real, is there's only so high we can climb when we're so close to the top. So I think obviously frequently up there pushing for silverware is something I'd like to see, and I think we'll hover around the top 7 for at least the next 10 years. I'd like to say the top 7, top 8 maybe, but the top 10 is starting to get so much more competitive. The gap is closing, and just with how modern football is nowadays, everything is, like, it's starting to get a bit like F1 in terms of margins. Like, you're 0.1 second behind the person in second place and you're called slow for 0.1 of a second. Football now is starting to become such thin margins at the highest level that sometimes it can be a 1 goal difference between whether you finish 6th place or 7th place, like something daft as that. So I'd like to see us hovering in the top 7 for at least the next 10 years.
Yeah, firmly established top 6-7 team that has that Champions League journey every year, every 2 years, every 3 years maybe. But the good times keep coming, and no matter what European competition is, the level of European competition is, I'm absolutely certain Emery will have us in it or competing for a level of it every year.
Yeah, consistently in Europe, I think consistently Champions League is hard. Yeah. Really, really hard. I mean, but I think if you can consistently be in any European competition, I think that's good. I think we said in Switzerland, it'd be weird now seeing Villa not in Europe. Like, I've done it a couple of years now in 2 different competitions, but I think, be consistently in Europe, and then just something tangible as well. They're like, I just want to win something. Yeah. I think if he wins something, obviously he's already a legend. I think he's already up there, and people will speak about him in a way they haven't spoken about any Villa manager before, and rightly so. But I think if you can top that with winning a trophy, that just takes it to a whole nother level. And even if it is a League Cup, like, who are we to sniff at that now? Like, who are we?
About the League Cup,
no, but that's the problem. People talk about we need silverware, but what silverware though? I mean, if we get Europa League this season or whatever, and we qualify for that, I could see us winning that. Champions League, obviously, I don't think we're going to win that, but he doesn't care about the League Cup. But to be fair, if we beat Palace, I don't know when this is coming out, on the week before Palace. So look, if we win that, we're in the quarterfinals. And I think if you get a favourable draw in that, and it's not a Man City away or an Arsenal away, one more win, you're in the semis. And I think at that point you might see it. So a lot of it is luck of the draw and stuff, and same with the FA Cup, which is probably slightly harder to win in terms of it's a bit longer. But yeah, if we can get a little bit of luck, fingers crossed we can win something.
I don't think we'll ever finish below 5th as long as Emery's there. Yeah,
wow. I think that's bold, because you never know what's going to happen with the others. Like, for a long time, we'd have said Chelsea aren't, they're not even a contender, whereas this year now they are in the conversation. That could happen to a Brighton or a Newcastle or West Ham.
I just think the consistency of this manager, the fact we've gone 7th, 4th, what could happen this year? Like, I just don't. I think he's that good. He improves players that much and keeps the levels going that much. I don't think we'll drop out of the top 5, and more often than not, 5th might be enough for Champions League football, depending on the coefficient. Look, obviously teams will come back. Like, Man U will be back at some point, but I certainly think Emery will be here for the next 3, 4, 5 years. In that time, I don't think we'll drop beneath top 5, and I also think we'll just be. I think you'll see. I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but I think at some point you'll see a genuine title challenge.
I was going to say I'd love one good go at going toe-to-toe with whoever it is, whether it's City or Arsenal, whatever happens. And
weren't far off last year, were we?
No, we were for a bit, weren't we? Christmas, we were like, could we stay in the title race there?
How nice was it to go to Villa Park for so long as well, though, and not be losing a game?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Just churning out.
Well, come on, then.
Just
Come at
churning
us, bro.
results.
Yeah, we'll take anybody on.
And all that's down to this one guy, isn't it? And we did a Q&A recently where we spoke about challenging for the title, and I think most Villa fans will go, yeah, I can't understand the reasoning. Other fans might think, these guys are crazy. But if you're consistently around the top four, you're not probably going to be a million miles away from points total from winning the league, which is not a title challenge, I get that. But you can get to that. Like you say, you've got to go toe-to-toe with someone. Liverpool have won again, so we have to win, and I want to have that kind of relationship with another club and go toe-to-toe with them as well. And I genuinely think that could happen in the next 5 years.
You've talked about however long Emery's going to stay, 3, 4, 5 years, 10, 12 years, whatever it is. Guardiola might leave Man City, and next 2 years, he might not sign a new deal. Who knows what's going to happen there? Haaland might follow him wherever he goes. We don't know.
I think there'll be teething issues there when he goes, like we were talking about.
It's hard, the
Wenger
fabric of the club, isn't it?
Liverpool, who knows what's going to happen with them? Yes, they've started brilliantly under Arne Slot, but who knows what's going to happen with them? They could
We
fall
said
off.
before you guys came in, there's 3 teams better than us now: Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal. For now, and that could change. Maybe at some point there's 5 teams better than us, but the other way is also true. Maybe there's only 2 teams better than us, like genuinely better.
I think we'd have been closer to the top last season if it wasn't for injuries. Like that first half of the season,
Incredible.
our record was unbelievable in the back end of like the second half of the season before. Like as soon as Emery came in, like the record was incredible. The only thing that saw us drop off a little bit was that we got absolutely decimated by injuries. He never once used it as an excuse. He never once referenced it whilst everyone else was complaining about theirs. We had some of the, probably other than Newcastle maybe. Man, you had some bad ones as well, but we had like killer injuries last season. We had like 3 players who barely played all season. Rin, Ramsey, Mings, and Buendia. Like just didn't.
We were
just
dead
didn't play.
by the end of the.
Yeah, we were running on empty.
The last 5.
I don't think that'll happen
there was
this
nothing.
season. That won't happen this season because the squad's got more depth and more quality to it. I honestly just think under this manager, like, what could go wrong? Like, other than like,
Don't say that.
no, but what could? I honestly don't see. Unless he gets off and like. I know Heck introduces like the dugout view.
Oh, we're going to avoid his name this week, Dan.
Fans
He had
paying
to
like
get that in, didn't he?
fans paying like 20 grand a game to like sit behind Emery in the dugout. And that annoys him. Like, I honestly think that's the only kind of thing that can go wrong.
But that is true. There's probably like
Don't entice him, James.
no, there's 2 clubs in, or maybe there's 2 or 3 clubs in the world that he would leave to.
I don't think there is
I don't
anyone.
think that's necessarily true.
What, take all his team again? And
But it's not. I don't think it's even just that. I think it's that club has to allow that to happen.
That's the only reason I think would ever leave is if there was ever that friction in the boardroom. And I don't think there is. But if there was ever decisions being made that he didn't agree with,
Yes, I think that's
the
thing.
relationship broke down in some way. That's the only thing, and I don't see it happening.
I don't think it's the pull of another club. I think it's Villa up themselves doing basically and like stop. Okay, we've got financial wiggle room to spend, but we're not going to let you, or we're going to tell you to buy. And you go, okay, I'm done here. Like I've achieved everything I can in that setup. I think if Chelsea come calling and say, right, we'll give you everything.
That won't happen.
Why would you do that?
It makes me laugh when Man U, like, people say, oh, Man U should go for him. What on earth would he leave Villa together?
I don't know.
Honestly, there's no point. I think the dugout views are going, I think that's a good idea. Just one seat in the dugout. Like, imagine what you
view.
can charge for one game. Like, PSR out the window. No
I'll
one
say
gets
it's still be gone now. I'm pretty close. I'll be
Yeah,
out.
about we need to progress, don't we? That's the price of it, mate. So
the roof view.
Off you
Watch
go.
Villa apart from the roof.
Right, we're done. Everyone enjoy it?
Yeah.
That's class. Thank you.
Good, excellent, much more positive than the first episode, naturally, as we expected. If you enjoyed this episode of the Villa Social, episode 2, do let us know in the YouTube comments, or if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc., you can go on and give us feedback on. We'll do that at the end. You can give us feedback on social media, etc. Thanks everyone for joining me, and we'll see you in a month. Okay. Do another.